I've been collecting pins for many years now, and I've got some from Europe, some from America, a lot from my home country of England. But as the collection has gotten bigger, I've noticed that I am slowly outgrowing the board that it's on, and all of the pins are in a random order as well, so it's time for a change. So I ordered this huge board from Amazon, and hopefully it means I can lay out some more of my pins in like a nicer way. Here's another look at how big it is. Just down there on the bottom left is a PS4 for scale. So the first thing I had to do was find the place I wanted it, which was this wall here. It needed to be a big open space where I could put up the board, because I think it's like 1 meter across. The next thing I had to do was clear the shelf to make sure that I didn't damage anything while I was putting things up. That included taking down my Cedar Point Legos and my Merlin resins, and then also the mug that holds the pin backs and the little swarm thing, as well as taking down the posters so I could clear the wall properly. I needed to check out how the board would look on the wall as well, just to make sure that I had the appropriate space for it, and then also I needed to make sure it was at a correct height so that the items that are on the shelf could go back on display afterwards as well. I was struggling to figure out how to put the pins, like the screws in the wall, and then I realised there were these little bits that came off and you could put them back on once the pin was in. Very simple stuff really. So once all of those were off and I was ready to go, I read the instructions, which is a lie. Of course I didn't read the instructions. I've never read instructions for anything, and that's why I always get stuff wrong. Now it's time to screw the board onto the wall. I'm not going to show you the whole process because it took me way longer than it should have done. You know, I just made a massive deal out of nothing. But yeah, I measured the height. I also used a spirit leveler, which is a very good idea because otherwise you might screw it in wonky. And yeah, the finished result looked pretty good. It's the perfect height in my opinion. The next thing to do was to take all of the pins that I currently have off of the board, and I was struggling to know which order to put them in, so I put them in part groups. The final one being this Wicker Man one, which always blends itself in with the board. As you can see, it's kind of similar colour. So I was trying to figure out which pin should go in the bottom left hand corner, which was the first one I did. It needed to be something that stood out, that didn't kind of get lost in the crowd, and so I settled on this rather big smiler pin. You know, it's the biggest pin in my collection, and it's always looked good as like a statement piece, so having it in the bottom corner is a really good idea. Also, just for scale, this is the biggest pin in my collection, and this is the whole size of the board. So we're dealing with a massive space here, and I'm definitely not going to be able to fill it up. I keep putting the Alton Towers pins around it, and very, very quickly I was done after the Nemesis 25 pin went in. So that was all good, little Alton Towers corner. Then I got my Thorpe Park pins, and I sort of had the same idea. Get one that really stands out, put it in the bottom right hand corner, and then I started to put the rest of them in, going from this Tidal Wave one all the way until I got to the final one, and then we were done with the Thorpe Park section as well. I then laid out some of my Chessington pins as a bridge between the two, and then I also added the rest of my Chessington pins in after that as well to complete that sort of little bit. I also put in the Blackpool pins, and that was also done very quickly up the left hand side. I really like this icon pin, it was new for me this year. I also put in this Sick pin from Flamingoland, which is really cool, I wish they had more. And then I also put in my American pins from my trip this year to Cedar Point, as you can see, Steel Vengeance, King's Island with the Beast and Diamondback and Mystic Timbers, and then also, just on the left hand side, Kentucky Kingdom, as well as my Drayton Manor pins. The next part was sort of difficult as I had quite a few miscellaneous pins, but I decided to put my Florida pins up there with the other American ones, and then some of my other random European UK parks like Oakwood and Portaventura, a little bit of Gulliver's, Portland's Park, all of that goes down there as well. But this was the completed result, and I'm really happy with it. I think it looks great. The final thing to do is put all of these little objects back on the shelf. Yeah. I'm really happy with the way this turns out. I think it looks really great, and given all of that huge space that's left, I have a lot of room to sort of expand my collection, which I've already started doing after this video has been made. There'll be one coming out soon, So if you like what you've seen today, hit the subscribe button. It would be really cool if you could, and I hope to see you in the next video. Have a nice day.